Pranam Pawanji, welcome and good afternoon from London. And for those who don't know, we are studying the book The Living Hanuman, which is written by Pawan Mishra ji. And today we have come together to do the verse 16 and 17. And both of them are small, but in a way that they are so detailed, but we will go through them together. So as usual, I will read the verse and then I will give it over to Pawan ji. So verse 16 begins with, Tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā, rāma milāya rājpat dīnhā. tumharo maṅtra bibhīṣana mānā, laṅkesvara bhaye sab jaga. And there is an English meaning which says, you favored so Sugriva, who was dear and very own, bringing him into Rama's weave, getting him the royal throne. And then in the whole world is well known that he held to the holy name, Vibhīṣana, the gentle one, Lord of Lanka, he became. There's a small in-point meaning, which is a very subtle meaning of each verse. So that is that upakāra. I am aware of grace pouring upon me, making all things happen for my evolution and good. And I am firm in my resolve to live my values. So sometimes I feel, Pawanji, when I read the in-point, I struggle to have the connectivity. But as I go through the verse, as I read the chapter, and I read the interpretation and the connections you build with the core meaning of the words, then later it flows as a symphony. But when you just first come across it, it's very difficult to understand. So I will let you take over. The Guru will give us the Guru Vidya. So go ahead, please tell us something.
So, tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā, rāma milāya rājpat dīnhā. You did an act of kindness. Upakāra is an act. Kīnhā is an active verb, to do. You did an act of kindness to Sugriva, and Ram milāya rājpat dīnhā, making him meet Bhagwan Ram milāya rājpat dīnhā. You conferred on him the royal position. And the next verse, tumharo maṅtra bibhīṣana mānā. Your mantra, advice. Your mantra, tumharo maṅtra bibhīṣana mānā. Vibhīṣana followed, accepted and followed your advice. laṅkesvara bhaye sab jānā. Everyone in the world knows that Vibhīṣana became the Lord of Lanka, laṅkesvara. You said in the beginning that these are brief verses, but actually they contain in themselves, first of all, the whole stories that are behind them. Who is Sugriva, who is Vibhīṣana, etc. And many layers of information and teachings embedded in them. But we will try to cover it as briefly as it is possible. So, first thing, tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā. The word tum means you. The entire Chalisa until this point is narrated in third person. It is a narration about Hanumanji, as we have spoken again and again, as we have considered it several times, that this is a curriculum vitae of Hanumanji. The first part of the curriculum vitae is in third person. It is all about him, his qualifications, his birth, etc., etc. And now, from this verse, it says, tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā. Tum is second person. Tum means you. You did an act of kindness on Sugriva. We have found this out. We are saying this to Hanumanji, as if Hanumanji is sitting in front of me and I am speaking to him. Also, in India, in Hindi, we have three different words for you. One is aap, which means a person who is higher in respect who is an elder, who is at a higher level than oneself. So it is a form of respect, an elderly respect or a senior respect that we denote by using the word आप. आप is similar to du in German. Du. Then is tum. Tum is used for a person who is in front of you, who is at the same level as yourself, your friend, your colleague, somebody of your same age group, same level. We use the word tum. And the third one is tu, which is used for a person who is junior in relationship or in position to oneself. Here the word tum is being used for Hanumanji, denoting that Hanumanji is at your eye contact level, at your own level, at your body level. And Hanumanji is in front of you and you're saying, but we have found out tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā, you have done this. So this word tum is of very great importance in understanding that this prayer here shifts from third person to second person. There's a shift of gear here. And then tum upakāra sugrīvahiṁ kīnhā is an active sense. Hanumanji has actively engaged himself in helping Sugriva regain his kingdom. And the only thing he did that was make him meet Bhagwan Ram. In the story of Ramayana, Bhagwan Ram fights on behalf of Sugriva and kills his brother Bali, who had usurped his kingdom, who had mistreated him, and restores Sugriva back to his kingdom. Now, at a deeper layer, Sugriva simply means a person with a beautiful throat, a good throat. Here it means someone who has a beautiful, sweet way of communicating, somebody who communicates well. Now that communication, whether it is from one person to the next, person-to-person communication, or our internal narratives that we use as our inner communication within ourselves, the quality of these communications to be good, so good. It has to be pure, good quality communication, not hurtful communication. It sounds like a very simple act. It sounds like a very commonplace attribute. But when you consider it deeply, a good, soulful, compassionate, loving, warm, non-hurtful, dignified communication is a result of a highly purified mind. It is impossible to maintain a good quality of communication if our minds are polluted with anger, with jealousy, with violence, with expectations and greed and conditionings and things like that. So here, Sugriva represents a person who has mastered the inner environment to an extent that he is able to project and present himself in a sweet manner to the external environment. Sugriva also here represents to our throat chakra. It's also known as Vishuddhi chakra. In a separate video, we will go over how the Kundalini code is embedded within the Hanuman Chalisa. It's a very subtle, very mystic thread that has not been touched upon. But here I'm only hinting that Sugriva here represents one who has mastered or settled his throat chakra, Vishuddhi chakra. Vishuddhi means a vortex, an energy vortex where a special process of purification happens. Sugriva has made that happen. And then the ascent from the throat chakra to the Agya chakra, to the third eye chakra, happens through grace. A divine force must raise one's energy from throat to the third eye. One's own effort ends until the throat chakra, at the throat chakra. So Sugriva represents a person who has done all the purification and all the inner preparation to come up to the throat chakra, and he is now ready, and Hanumanji assists him to ascend to the throne of the Agya chakra. We go to the next verse. Here, another type of seeker is expressed. So here the seeker is well prepared and he has come up to the level of Vishuddhi chakra. And Hanumanji raises him and makes him merge with Ram, makes him rise up to the level of the third eye chakra. In the next verse, tumharo maṅtra bibhīṣana mānā. Vibhīṣana was the younger brother of Ravana, the king of Lanka. He was a very righteous man, very conscientious person. And within that city and kingdom of consumption and demonic behavior and demonic society, he preserved his integrity, his authenticity, and his devotion and practice, inner practices. And within that context, he resolved his emotions and he became Vibhīṣana, especially fierce. So in one way, you can say that he was so fearful that people should become afraid of him if they would meet him. But in this context, Vibhīṣana means he was so fierce, he was so gentle that there was no fierceness left in him. He was more fierce. He was fiercely gentle. You can say that way. Fiercely gentle. There was no room for any fierceness. That means there was no room for any fear. In our Vedic tradition, when a monk takes the vow of monkhood, and he has already, after the whole ritual has been made to stay in one single room in confinement for about 24 hours. And at that time, it is said that he is considered to be neither dead nor alive, because he has just conducted his own last rites of the previous life he has lived, and he is just about to take on the robes of the monk. He sits in his room naked and meditates on this transition. And then at the appointed hour, he emerges out of his room, totally naked, and walks towards his guru with his hands raised like that. And the first word he utters is, no living being, no being needs to have any fear from me, and I have no fear from any living being. Fear has been banished. Fear has been fully banished, totally banished, no trace of it. Vibhīṣana has resolved all his conflicts, all his fears, all his angers, all these emotions, and the storms of these emotions relate to our heart chakra. Vibhīṣana is that level of seeking where the heart chakra has been purified. Heart chakra in Sanskrit is known as anahat chakra, the vortex of unstruck. Actually, the vortex of unstruck sound. Sound is always created out of striking two objects together, like a throat, muscles of the throat with one another, with the wind. Then sound is created. But Omkar, Om, this sound is considered to be that which is created without striking two objects together. It is taken from there, but literally, the heart chakra represents a stage of anahat. There has a space in which There's no striking. There's no hurt. There's no hurting. That level of purification of emotions. In the context of Ramcharitmanas, Bhagwan Ram is considered to be the king of Awadha. Awadha is a region where no one is killed, a region of non-violence. And the capital city of Awadh is known as Ayodhya. Even today, we have Ayodhya. And Bhagwan Ram ruled from Ayodhya. Ayodhya, Yuddha means war. Ayodhya means no war, no conflict. So in a city of non-violence, in a region, in a kingdom of non-violence, from the capital city of non-conflict, Bhagwan Ram rules from there. That's where his throne is. That's where his seat is. And vibhīṣana is that level of consciousness of a seeker where one has mastered or arrived into that space of heart, who is a heart-centered human being. To such a human being, Hanumanji just gave him an advice, maṅtra. tumharo maṅtra bibhīṣana mānā. Hanumanji instructed him into certain higher practices. And he was prepared. He took those practices. Ultimately, of course, in the storyline, the advice was to meet Rama and go ahead and fight his brother, who was demonic, who was exploiting and destroying the region around. And he was restored. He was raised as the king of Lanka, Vibhīṣana. But the esoteric meaning is that through more special practices, through special maṅtra, that Vibhīṣana blossomed into Lankapati. He blossomed. Lanka is also considered to be a city of senses. Lankapati, Lankesh would mean one who is a sovereign of senses. Lanka means 10. So we have 5 senses of perceptions and 5 organs of action. These are considered to be the 10 senses. And Lankapati would mean one who has become a sovereign of all these 10 senses. So Vibhīṣana was made that. Thus, 2 types of seekers. One who has internally purified himself or herself and reached up to the throat chakra, Vishuddhi, and one who has reached up to the heart chakra. Both of them have been graced by Hanumanji's presence and blessings. All the time we have to remember when we say Hanumanji's grace, Hanumanji's blessings, at one level, yes, actual blessing of the presence through the presence of Hanumanji. But at a more tangible level, it shows that degree of mastery over one's prana, over one's breath. To that extent, that breath, the flow of breath becomes the flow of grace. You experience the flow of grace in the breath. That breath becomes transformative. Hence, on our path, our highest attention is on breath awareness. And you know that we are practicing it. 2-minute breath awareness meditation every once in a while, every 1 or 2 hours, pausing for 2 minutes and tuning into the flow of breath. Because through that, like in a hospital, the moment you are admitted, they put you on an intravenous, they put that intravenous pipe, at least. They at least puncture and make the room for attaching an intravenous tube whenever needed. So, because all medication, all food, all nutrition will go through that pipe into your body. Similarly, in ourselves, in every seeker, all grace, all energy flow, all experiences will ride on the breath, on the tube of breath, on the flow of breath. So we have to pay most attention on that and keep very, very, rather we have to perfect the practice of breath awareness.
Absolutely. I mean, so when I read the in point, I said it's very difficult to understand the in point unless you understand not just the superficial meaning, but the simple meaning of words. Like we all knew that Sugriva was the brother of Bali, and we all knew that Vibhīṣana was the brother of Ravan. But when we read the verse, we just go with the verse like with the inbuilt kind of story that has gone into our head forever. Like Vibhīṣana always was kind of projected in the normal, the Ramayana, the thing that used to happen in India when we see the puppetry or the show or the theater, he's represented as the brother who kind of traitor. Sorry to say that, but he's often given that position. And then when you say about Vibhīṣana, the meaning of the word by itself and how it represents somebody who has kind of conquered all emotional conflict, that's exactly the sentence from the book. And then it kind of explains how, as a person, when your heart chakra is fully blossomed, you are seeing compassion for everyone, not just your associative relatives. For example, in both the cases, Sugriva's brother Bali, the ruler of Kishkinda, and in this case, Vibhīṣana with Ravan, the ruler of Lanka. So very, you are able to kind of associate and lift yourself above from the relationship bond, but see the bigger picture, that which is for the ruler of the kingdom, for everyone, not just for your brother. So that's why I say whenever I read the in-point meaning, it takes me some time to get to the place where I understand. And then there are the in-journey questions. I was not able to answer 2 or 3, but we will just take up one. And so in the first verse 16, do I choose non-violent communication instead of using speech and facial expressions as a weapon to cause hurt? So that's something that we all kind of need to practice because it doesn't come naturally, especially. But the other one is my communication to my own self full of love and truth. So if you could just tell in action points, like how would you engage in that activity? Is my communication to my own self full of love and truth? What do you think about this question?
Normally, especially people on the path, if you are a normal human being, not practicing anything, you are unconscious about anything that is going on in your mind. But when you're on the path, you have a certain standard or a certain goal or a certain attribute you are aspiring for that. For example, waking up in the morning. And now you are not able to wake up in the morning. So you tell yourself, what kind of a seeker are you? You can't even wake up in the morning. What the hell do you think you will ever be able to do? Now, this is not a loving communication to yourself. Or similar communication. We begin to, in the sense of becoming good, we begin to look at ourselves as the source of all bad around. So we take all the responsibility on ourselves and we say, probably it is my karma, therefore so-and-so is yelling at me. I might have done bad things to that person. You see, at very, very subtle layers, we begin to talk down to ourselves. That is one layer. The other layer is, here, very clearly, Hanumanji has been addressed as tum. Hanumanji, as we have explained in the previous verse, is nobody less, nobody other than Dakshinamurti himself, Shiva Dakshinamurti. So Shiva, the highest, the supreme being, is being addressed as tum in the first person. But what happens on the path, we somehow or the other, we begin to become too humble and there's too much of kowtowing to everything, including to different pictures of gods, different ideas of gods, and then we bow down and, God, I am a beggar, please fill my bowl with, there are these bhajans. All our Hindu bhajans are basically in this nature of seeking something with great humility, that I am nobody and only you can now lift me up. So all those things, in one way you can say, is not a very great narrative. And you put yourself down, you put yourself down, you put yourself down. Here, we want to check what is the kind of narrative, what is the kind of what we talk to ourselves. Can we say ourselves that I'm Shiva? Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. After all, this is also narrative, isn't it? But we don't do that much. We do that less or least, or only during when we listen to that on a YouTube. But most of the time we are talking to ourselves and we are saying, oh, I'm nobody. God does everything. That kind of a.
Okay. I understand. But every time we do the chanting together in the Lotus Garden, and also from my practices from earlier, I always, in my heart space, the feeling that I keep when we are doing the Lotus Garden meditation together is that the goddess is invoking in me, from me, in my action, it flows. So often when I am about to do something that is not really right in any way, I remind myself, not only am I the child of the God or the child of the universe, but also that God flows through me in my actions, in my words, in my vision. And that's something that I have built over a period of time. I was exactly the version that you described earlier, that, you are sitting with empty hand and you're like, in humility, you are asking the universe to guide you, but the universe is kind of flowing through you. And with us, obviously in us, it's flowing as breath. And the more we practice breath awareness, the more we allow the grace to flow through us. And
Yes.
with that, I will just close with the action point, which is to support and help others by using my connection. And in a very fast-paced world, I think networking is the key. And
Yes.
the other one, it's to give considered advice and mentors others who seek it from me. So I am a seeker here seeking from you. And thank you for your amazing time. And thank you for the beautiful visions you give of simple verses. It just lightens up the mood. It doesn't make it very technical, doesn't make it very religious, just makes it very easy to absorb. And you realize, especially my action points, you just know that, okay, if you kind of follow this one thing, like just one thing from the verse you take away and you apply it, and you know that you will be a better person tomorrow. So for a better person tomorrow, from my side, thank you so much. See you soon again. Bye-bye.